Hopefully we'll be able to get Nadine on here today. Not. Oh, fantastic. There she is. Fantastic. Not sure what's going on with Insta.
Okay, we're
Oh,
here. I got a bit worried then. I was like, where have I disappeared to?
it's
How are
so
you?
Instagram can be so interesting
Yeah, it has
sometimes.
its moments.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Fantastic. It's so good to have you here. So what I'm going to do is just introduce you, a brief
Yeah.
bio. It possibly doesn't capture everything that you do, but I'll just give a brief introduction so everyone can know who our guest is today, and then I'll just hand
Yeah.
over to you so you can just talk a bit more about yourself. So today we
Okay.
have Nadine Plummer, who is an intuitive coach, and she focuses on melanin-rich women to honor, invest, and empower in themselves individually and collectively. She graduated with a master in Black British writing at Goldsmiths University, and she's also the founder of NPNarratives, which is a platform that curates a safe and inspiring space for mature melanin-rich women within the UK, to come together in sisterhood. Also, through this platform, Nadine also integrates her expertise in writing therapies to help her fellow sisters heal, grow, and thrive. So you can see the reason why Nadine is here today, because this is something that we definitely need within our community. It's something that is, we don't tend to, I don't know the reason why,
Yeah.
to I either seek for, or there's not a lot of platform offering this. So I really appreciate and honor what you're doing. So over to
Thank
you.
you.
Tell those who are listening a little bit about yourself, and just tell us a little bit also about your own personal experience and why you started this.
So I think you kind of captured it in the bio for the most part. Um, I think just to piggyback off that, the reasons why I decided to go into it, I almost kind of fell into it. Originally, when I started, it was just to literally showcase my writing, because I write poetry as well. So I never went into this thinking, oh, okay, I'm just going to start coaching. What happened was from my writing, I started to get a lot of feedback from women who were like asking me, do you do coaching services? Like, this really resonated with me. We need more spaces like this. And as we went into 2020, I was pregnant with I like to call her my last child because we are not having anymore. Um, and I just thought, with lockdown and everything happening, this is the perfect time for me to just do it. It was like, you're either going to do it or you're not. So I kind of jumped in, started off doing like an online journal type of thing. Um, and then more feedback started to come through. So I was like, okay, I'm usually the person people go to for advice. I'm usually very supportive of people, whether I know them or not. So I said, okay, I'm going to explore this a bit further. And then the more I started to speak to women of color, whether that be family, friends, colleagues, I realized, okay, just like what I learned on my master's, Black women are still being silenced, we're still being censored, we're not given the space to be ourselves. When I started looking for spaces, it was usually based in the US. It was very hard to find spaces over here in the UK that catered specifically to women of 30 and above. It was very much like 25 and below, or it just jumps to 40 for some reason, and your 30s are kind of missed out. And I also crave that space too. So what better way than just to do it myself? So I started off slowly by creating the Sister Circle, which has kind of developed into its own type of branding. Um, And I just wanted to offer women a space where they could literally show up exactly how they are and just share stories. I feel like we've kind of lost in the frameworks of sisterhood, we've lost the identity of sharing and not seeing everything as competition. I believe that some of the reasons why we don't pour back into ourselves is because we've been conditioned for centuries to always be the backbone or the support for other people, especially as women of color. And we've kind of lost sight in that part of our identities in regards to showing up for each other, that sense of community, that sense of sharing, and removing this like tokenistic ideologies that have kind of been programmed into us. So when NPN started to really take form, it was highly important for me to be like, okay, I want this specifically to be for women of color. Not to say that I don't do services for all races, genders, but predominantly that's where my work lies, because I want there to be spaces that I know I could enter into, that my daughters, when they grow up, God willing, this is still continuing, they have a space that they can enter into and know that it's okay to be your authentic self in whatever way, shape, or form that that shows up in.
Thank you. That's so lovely. And the thing I wanted to ask you is this: is that we talk about doing the inner work,
Yeah.
and sometimes, how can I put it? I get a little bit concerned when I talk to particularly women of color, and it comes to supporting one another and just being there for one another. The word competition always comes up,
Yeah.
and I wondered, where is that coming from?
I think it's the thing of survival.
Right.
I think we're just put in a space, from my experiences, let me only talk from my experiences and those that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
I don't like using the generational curse kind of trope, because I just feel like we all have an active part to play in how we're trying to lead our lives. So yes, your mother, your grandmother, your great grandmother might have gone through some things and they may have projected those things onto you, but you have the due diligence, you have the resources, you have the time, if you want to make the time, to commit to focusing on how you want your life to be. I feel like the competition comes into it because, like I said, to survive meant by any means necessary. And the society we live in they've played on that a lot, and they've made it so it's the norm for us now. And some women of color, I feel, are almost desensitized by it,
Right.
because it is the norm. So we're more accepting of, well, this is just the way it is, or I have to wait for them to do this in order for me to be able to do that. And growing up before internet, so no social media, no Instagram, there was more sense of community, there was more sense of sisterhood, whether that's what I saw between my mum and my aunties, to the friendship circles that I used to have, to my sister's friendship circles. It was very supportive. And I feel like over time, and the way how certain medias have been pushing stuff onto us, you do just feel like, okay, well, I've just got to look out for myself. I can't look out for anybody else. Are their intentions pure? And that also lends back into doing the inner work. If you're working on yourself and you're focusing that energy on you, you don't have time to worry about competition. You really don't. And the more that you do on yourself, the more inclined you are to want to help other people do the same thing. I just think it's a crying shame that if more spaces were like this when I was in my 20s, then I may have made different choices. Who's to say that would have happened? But I would like to think I would have been more convicted in where I positioned myself. I would like to think I would have had a better sense of self in regards to whether that's self-awareness or just how I do my daily practices. That to not do it now, to not kind of share what I know, what I've experienced, is almost a disservice to me and to other women that I come into contact with.
Yes, that is so important. And I wanted you to speak about maternal mental health.
Yeah.
And how does that connect with doing the inner work?
Interestingly,
Yeah.
so in 2017, both in January and August that year,
Yeah.
I wasn't having twins, but I had two preterm labors. that took place. And it was really strange because they were both boys and it was both around the same gestation, and it literally happened in the same way. So I went through a period of time, once again, not seeing the spaces available to me as a Black woman. It was very whitewashed and not feeling comfortable to open up. So I would talk to my family, but then I didn't want to talk to them too much because obviously trauma and tragedy like that affects everybody.
Yes.
Plus with having children and my husband, it was kind of like you don't want to dwell on it for too long. And then when you add that layer of you're a Black woman, so you're just automatically meant to be strong. So I gave myself a certain amount of time and I was like, you're going to grieve for this long and then you've got stuff to do. I was still studying my master's. So in that final year, when it came to dissertation time, I was like, okay, I'm going to use the university's resources and start having some counselling. And from doing that, I learned a lot of my behaviours were almost my way of coping in order to navigate that space of grief and mourning. So as 2019 came around and I fell pregnant with my last daughter, I had to leave work. It was classed as like a high-risk pregnancy because they didn't understand why my cervix would open. They didn't want to class it as incompetent cervix because they didn't know why it happened, but they just thought, okay, at this gestation, your cervix will most likely open up. It was like a 1 in 20,000 chance that it happened in the way that it did. So I knew I would have to have a cervical stitch and all of that stuff. So my time being pregnant that time round, I decided to really just focus on being grateful for being pregnant and like making sure every week was a celebration, every day was a celebration. I started to get back into meditating every day, and we joke that that's why she's so connected to me, because literally throughout the whole of the pregnancy, I went up to 38 weeks. I literally meditated like once or twice a day. And that kind of became the beginning of me really connecting all the dots. Funnily enough, my life path number is 3. And I feel that the way how she operates, I don't know if it's energetically or spiritually, but I know that the boys are very tethered to her. And that pregnancy allowed me to start grieving, but in a really beautiful way, where it wasn't about being sad. It was about remembering the lessons that the boys taught me. I feel like they were given to me. They did choose me for a reason, because that was the catalyst for me really starting to understand myself as a mother, as a woman, what I wanted, observing the people I had around me, because as you know, when you go through your darkest times, you really start to see how people operate and what their intentions are for you. So her birth literally became my rebirth.
Wow.
And that's how I really like to view it, because once she came, I literally felt very connected to myself in a way where I was like, we're gonna just try stuff, and if it doesn't work, it's fine, because we're just gonna try. And it also allowed me to trust my body again, because in counseling I found out that you don't trust your body. Like, there was no explanation why. We don't know why. I've never had any experiences like that before. I never put myself in a position where I've ever had like abortions or anything like that. So I really lost a lot of faith in my body. And once again, as a Black woman, your body's meant to be all things. It births nations, it does this, it does that. And I just thought, well, my one didn't. For some reason, it just didn't. So to have her come about, it was literally a full circle moment. And once I kind of started the process, like I said before, it organically kind of unfolded. And the more I started to learn about myself, the more I was like, you're a really cool person. Like, I actually like you. However, you have certain things that you need to work on. You have certain traits that are just not conducive to your growth in any way, shape or form. So I went through the first year of really starting NPN as a way of not only connecting me with women who have supported me or who inspire me, it was a way for me to really start unpacking and going below the surface. I think the trending of self-care and self-love and do the work and all the woo-woo that goes with it, it's very easy to be like, oh, well, I put a face mask on and I had a nice bath and that was me taking care of myself. And it got to the point where I'm like, you're literally just scratching the surface. You're literally doing it to make yourself feel good that you've done some work. But when you really start to unpack and go deeper and really start scratching and poking that same wound, you start to learn that there's a lot more that has to be done in order for you to kind of make those leaps forward. So for me, although that was probably the most traumatic period of my life, 2017, it was also the beginning of who I am today. So in some ways, I wouldn't change it. I just think that it was a shame that I couldn't find the spaces that could have supported me a lot sooner.
So important, and that's the reason why I
Yeah.
think what you're doing and your platform is so needed, so
Thank you.
needed, so needed. I mean, even I would say from a younger age, I would
Yeah,
say before the 20s, I'm thinking of
yeah,
myself when I was in my teens. And if I had access to support like this, tremendous changes,
literally.
a level of self awareness, you know, decisions that I would have made, groups or friendships that I would have kept. It's
Yeah,
so much important to have
yeah.
this. And so for me, speaking to you and looking at what you're doing and your work, I am so grateful that, although you went through those experiences and now you've rebirthed and now this is you and then you're going out there and doing the work. I celebrate you and I honor you.
Thank you.
And I wanted you to talk to us, about your book,
Yeah.
returning
Sometimes I
home
forget I did it.
returning home to self. I mean, that alone, returning home to self, is just, it's powerful when you really think about it. Because
Yeah,
there's, when you look at society, there's always this tendency for us to move away from ourselves. You're not good enough. You need to add a little bit of lipstick. You need to have this kind of look. It's always, we need to add to
yeah,
ourselves rather than returning home
yeah. And accepting.
and accepting. So why that title, and what inspired you to write it?
I chose that title because that's exactly how I feel about what I'm doing. Um, for myself, for the women that I've worked with, seeing their journeys. Like I say to them, like as much as I'm helping you, you're actually helping me. And funnily enough, a lot of the women are older than me. Um, and it's nice to kind of have that exchange of experiences and kind of see like, okay, well, this is a common thing. This is something that's solely unique to you. Um, so as I love writing, like I said, I love poetry.
Yeah.
I love journaling. That's like my foundation. Journaling has gotten me through a lot of things. Um, and when I was journaling and kind of looking through stuff, I was like, wow, like your journey is taking a lot of twists and turns, but there's certain points where you have those kind of aha moments and it's like, wow, I've turned a corner or I've really explored that and I can close the chapter on that. And it just gave me that sense of home. And then being a Black person in general, you always have that feeling of displacement just because of what we've experienced in life through our families, through our heritage, through our cultures. Being a Black British woman, you don't feel like you belong here even when you're born here.
Mm,
So it was almost that thing of let's not worry about the external. We're focusing on the internal stuff. And I am my own home, my vessel, my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul, everything to me is home. Um, what encouraged me to do it was literally journaling. When I did the sister circle, I would put journals into the group chat that we have, journal prompts, and it really went down well. A few women didn't even know how to journal before they started, and now they lap it up, they love it, and they seek out their own, they make up their own prompts. And I just thought, I want to write a book, so why not make my first book something that literally gives back? And I know not a lot of people might be able to afford the services that I have.
yeah.
I know some people don't have time where they can make the sessions that I do because they have other commitments, which I understand because, like I said, I have a family. So certain times I do things might not be suitable for everybody else,
Yes.
but it's because that's what has to fit in with my schedule at this time. So I just thought it'd be a really beautiful way to give back, to give people a little sense of what I do
Yes.
at an affordable price, and they can work it at their own pace. You could get through it in a few days if you wanted to,
Yeah.
or you could stretch it out throughout the year.
Yes.
Um, and within that, there are questions that you can always go back to. And I thought that was really important. I think sometimes when it does come to journaling, people are always looking for the next journal prompt. And you could use the same one over and over again, and you will see that every time you write your entry, it's going to be completely different.
Mm.
Um, And if it is the same, it's usually because there's behavioral patterns that you have. So you're going to end up having things that overlap and cross over, or you might literally have the same experience again, which shows if you want the change to happen, then you have to really look at yourself again. So for me, getting that out there was a really big accomplishment because it was in the works for a while and it's something that I kind of kept to myself. But I do have it in me to do a few more, and I'm slowly putting those together.
Fantastic.
So I would say to look out for the next batch.
Fantastic. So we can get a copy. Everyone can get a copy on Amazon.
You can get a copy on Amazon.
Yeah. Can they get it on your website as well? Or is it mainly just on Amazon? Yes.
At the moment, it's Amazon. Yeah. I haven't done a big batch order, which I do want to do. And I think with COVID, I would really want to do some sort of book launch where I can meet the women and like really have a conversation. So I've kind of held off selling it on the website for now.
All right. Okay.
But Amazon all over the place.
Fantastic.
Like, it doesn't matter where you are, you can buy it.
Fantastic. So let's talk about your intuitive coaching. How does that, so if somebody's thinking, you know what, actually I really need this and I really want to connect with Nadine, how do they do that? Do they just contact you and you have a one-to-one consultation? How does the process work?
So what will happen is, well, firstly, let me say what it is. So the intuitive life coaching is literally what it sounds like. It's life coaching, not in the way, I'm very intentional when I say I'm not trying to fix people. Some people go into this thinking like, oh, you're going to have all the answers and you're going to tell me what to do and it's going to be amazing and my life's going to magically change. No. My role is to support, to facilitate, and to guide you along your way.
Yes.
Because once again, I think it's very important to support women of color in this way, because we don't hold space for ourselves as much as we should do, and in the world we live in, there's not a lot of spaces that we're being allowed to occupy.
Right.
So with that, it's for you to literally come as you are. You would email me or DM me, depending on how you want to connect, what you're comfortable with. And we have what I call an alignment assessment call, which is around 15 to 30 minutes, depending. One, that's to verify who you are. Two, it's to kind of see how our energy is with each other, because you might get on the call and you don't like me. Or I realize, you know what, my services might not be for you. And I'm a very integral person, so I'm not just going to take the money off you to be like, oh yeah, that's fine, we can do this, that, and the other. And I know it's not going to go anywhere. I'd rather be like, do you know what, I don't think this might be the service for you. So maybe I know somebody else, or maybe you could seek sources somewhere else, which I'm happy to help people do. I'm happy to help you find what would fit you. And once we've kind of done that, then it's a thing of just get a contractual agreement, sort out the payments, and then it will be 6 weeks. I'm hoping to launch it again, because I did kind of like a soft launch in 2022 going into 21, which went well. But by doing that, I was like, okay, these are the things I really want to work on before I do it again. So I'm aiming for spring, and it's 6 weeks. So you get the alignment assessment call, then we do an initial session where we can kind of really lay the foundations in what it is that you want to do. I ideally focus on boundaries, imposter syndrome, and selfhood. They can overlap and enter into other realms, which could be goal setting, mindset, and alignment. So once we kind of get clear on what it is that you want to work on intentionally and purposefully, and what you're willing to commit to, then we'll have our additional 5 sessions. You'll get a bonus next step session, which is kind of just setting out an action plan for the month. So something you can refer back to. And then a month after that's ended, we have a follow-up just to kind of see how you've gotten on. Do you require any top-up sessions? Are you settling into the new routine? Have you been implementing it? What's happened? What's changed? What's the same? And we kind of take it from there. So it could be literally like an 8-week process and that's it for you. Or we could, like I said, do additional sessions. Or you might say, do you know what? I really like what you did. I want to work with the tools that you've given me. But as a supplementary, I would like to join the Sister Circle, say, and just get that general daily content and resources available to the person who I'm working with. So it all kind of can stem from one thing into another thing. It literally just depends on what your needs are and what we agree upon because it is a collaboration, it is a partnership. I don't want people to come and think, like I said, I'm driving the steering wheel for them. This is very much, what routes do you want to go to? How are you interpreting what we're discussing? Just to help kind of build up self-awareness from the first point to the end point. Because that's what the inner work is. It's a very individual experience. So you could come in for boundaries, someone else could come in for boundaries. You're both going to have a different experience because it's pertaining to who you are and where you want to go. Hence why I say it's about honoring the woman that you were, investing in who you are today, and empowering who you're going to be tomorrow. So yeah.
Fantastic. So, but the sister circle, so when you come for the one-to-one, is that when you join the sister circle, you can actually join the sister circle?
So you can join a sister circle separately. So we have the sister circle, we have the one-to-ones. I am starting to mock up courses so people can just buy online courses if they don't have the access to it. With the sister circle, it's a similar thing where I do require an alignment assessment call, because that is predominantly for women of color. So anybody can put up a profile of them being a Black woman. So I like to see people, and once again, I like to talk to them if they've got any questions, see what the energy is like. Once that's done, I'll forward them to the website and be like, look, use this, join up. You get the first month for £10 if you use the promo code sisterhood, £15 thereafter, and then you basically get access to the Sister Circle group chat. You get access to the Sister Circle forum on the website, which has longer pieces, longer articles, additional free like downloadable resources, and then you get like other benefits. So like you'll have entry into certain workshops for free. We do a ladies' night every last Friday of the month where all the women in the Sister Circle, we just come together, we have a laugh, we have a good time. And I just sprinkle a little bit of inner work to happen as well. So everybody kind of, you get things to do, you get a little bit of homework to take with you. But once again, it's just creating those spaces of just Black women living their best life and being happy and just supporting one another and kind of showing up for themselves as much as just showing up for everybody else. So yeah.
Yes, and also that is so important. Even while you're talking about it, I'm getting excited about it.
Your head's like, yep.
That is wonderful. So what is your vision moving forward? Do you see that, obviously you're more in the UK at the moment, do you see this going globally?
I would never say never, and I would never confine myself. I'm liking how it's unfolding organically. I do really, like you were saying, for the younger generation, I do really want to try and get some sort of program happening within secondary schools. Because like similar to you, I look at my daughter now who's about to enter secondary school in September, and it's just like, if you knew certain things ahead of time, I wonder what your life is going to be like. Can I help remove certain obstacles out of your way? But more than that, I just want her to be as self-aware as possible. Like I want you to, and she's very like that anyway. But just like feeling confident in advocating for yourself, feeling confident in setting your boundaries, and like letting it be known, like I'm not taking any BS. I've said what I said. I believe what I said. These are my beliefs and values. And being very unapologetic about it. I went through a period where almost people pleasing. It wasn't severe people pleasing, but I allowed myself to be taken for granted a lot, just because how I am naturally, very compassionate, very empathetic, always wanting to help people. I don't necessarily source people to fix, but I attract people that want to heal or grow in some sort of way, shape or form. And I allowed my kindness to be taken for weakness a lot of times, and didn't really speak up for myself in the ways that I should have. And because of that, you lose friendships, you go through certain things could have been different if I spoke up for myself sooner. So to give the next generation those type of resources and tools from the offset, I think is a very powerful thing. So I'm slowly trying to map out what that looks like, how it could work, who would it be for. I think I would do it broadly for a class, a whole class, because fortunately what I do is universal. I just choose to predominantly target it at women that look like me. So that's in my head, the more immediate thing that I'm trying to do. But if it went globally, then yeah, I'm here for it.
Fantastic. And this is a question I wanted to ask you, is that how important is it for men to
Of late,
support the work of doing the
of
inner
late,
work?
men have always been quite supportive. Starting off with my husband, he's been very supportive for throughout the whole journey.
Mm,
I've noticed on late, I think because I've been more consistent, because there's more clarity on what I'm offering and what I'm doing, and I'm more able to speak on it now because
yeah,
the vision is so clear and the direction I want to go in is so visible.
yeah,
I have been having more interactions with men, predominantly men of color. I've noticed when it's when it's our non-white counterparts, it's very much to sell me something. When it's men of color, it's because they want to know more, or they know somebody, or something I've just put up has resonated with them.
yeah.
So in my mind, things like my one-to-one, once again, predominantly for women of color, but I feel like it would be important to have pockets for a small group of men, whether that's group sessions, whether that's the odd one-to-one with them, and see how that goes. But I think it's important because once again, historically, Black men have also been in that survival mode and also been shown that, look, don't worry about the Black woman. Focus on yourself right now. If you wanna try and get anywhere, then they're dead weight. And I think with all of the movements that have been happening with like Black Lives Matter, and then all of the tragic and nonsensical killings and violence that has taken place, I think now as a Black community, we're starting to understand the importance of supporting one another
Right.
and uplifting one another and trying to make those communities have some sort of purpose and weight to them. So in regards to what I'm doing, I do feel like it would be stupid of me not to also include our male counterparts. Even more so because, like I said, my husband's a Black man. I have two Black boys that I'm raising. What would I like the world to look like for them in amongst all of the chaos and madness that's happening in the world, let alone the UK? Because we already know the UK is a bit of a mess right now. So yeah.
Fantastic. This is my last question to you,
Yeah.
and that is that what do you want to be remembered for? What is your legacy?
I want to be remembered for being a woman of color who wasn't afraid to show up for herself and others without being fearful. My big thing this year is like not having fear as a thing to hold me back anymore. So I kind of changed the acronym of it to face everything and rise. So whenever I have those moments of doubt or anxiety, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. What's the outcome going to be? Then I just remember, no, you do it anyway.
Yes.
Whatever it is,
Yes.
and you move on. And I feel like that's what I would like to be known for more than anything. Because I think when people know you as a person or can see what you're like as a person, whatever you've done outside of that is just an added bonus.
Yes.
So I would rather people know me for me and NPN be an extension of that, but not the main source of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We
Thank you
love
for having me.
NP Narratives community. You're doing a fantastic work. You know,
Thank
when
you.
I even
And
want to
same
see,
to you too.
yeah,
A
when I
round of
see
applause to you.
the,
Every time I message you, you're like, oh, this link and this link. I'm like, how many things is she doing? This is amazing.
you know, so it's been nice connecting with you. So when I upload the video, I'm just gonna go through. I'm gonna post it on a different social media network, and I'll put your details there as well, so that people can connect with you, and hopefully we'll be able to do something in the nearer future together.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Just a disclaimer before I go, in
Yeah,
case anybody, by all means, if you want to follow me on IG,
yeah,
go ahead.
yes,
However, this
yeah,
is not the platform that I use a lot.
yes,
I mainly used it for things like this, for doing lives.
yeah,
So if you do want to connect with me, LinkedIn and
yes,
Twitter would be your best bet.
yes,
And they're both the same handle as IG, so you can
yeah.
find me. I think I've got a Linktree link, so everyone should be able to connect in whatever ways
So
work
yeah,
for them. But this has been amazing.
definitely link up with her on LinkedIn. She's very, very active on there. very
Yeah.
active on there, and Twitter as well. So yeah, so thank you,
Thank
Nadine.
you. Thanks
Have a
everyone for
wonderful
joining.
day. My love
Same
to
to
the
you.
family. Take care, my sister. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.